Hello students, in the last video we did, are the crystalline salts really dry? From the external, if we are observing the salt externally, then that salt appears dry. Yes, but if suppose we observe the formula, we are observing that water molecules are present in it. They are present in the form of solid, but water is present there. And we call that type of salt as hydrated salt. Then how can we say that salt is really dry? As we did one activity also, students, in the last video, like in a test tube, if we are taking copper sulfate, which is having 5 water molecules as water of crystallization, fixed number of water molecules are present in one formula unit, that is called water of crystallization, that we did in the last video. So here we can prove that this copper sulfate, which is blue in color, have H2O in it, water in it. How can we prove it? We are taking that blue colored copper sulfate in a test tube, in a perfectly dry test tube. No water is there in the test tube. As we heat it, we observe small droplets of water on the walls of the test tube. Okay, students? So from where this water is coming? कहाँ से आया पानी? हमने तो टेस्ट ट्यूब को बिल्कुल ड्राई लिया हुआ था. And it is also observed that some vapors are evolving out from the test tube. That means this activity proves that salt which contain water as crystallization are not perfectly dry. They are not really dry. They are wet, but externally they look dry. Are you getting my point, students? And we can prove this by taking example of copper sulfate, since it changes its color when water get eliminated out. If water is there, the color of salt is blue. As the water is evaporating out, the color changes to white. Here I have written this also for you. Blue colored copper sulfate, that means water is present here. And if we heat it strongly, that blue color changes to white and droplets of water eliminate out from that salt. Color of the salt is becoming white. And if we again add water into it, on addition of this water in white colored copper sulfate, what will happen? Again the color changes blue. That means this blue color in copper sulfate is due to the presence of water molecule. In case of this copper sulfate, we can prove it, students. In case of this washing soda, color is not changing. It is white with water as well as without water. But we can prove it by heating it in a perfectly dry test tube. In the same way, Na2CO3.10H2O decahydrate, if taken in a test tube, perfectly dry test tube, and heat it, in that case also you will get droplets of water on the walls of or the mouth of test tube, and some vapors evolves out. So this activity proves that internally these salts which have water of crystallization are not perfectly dry. They are not dry really. They are hydrated. They are wet. And that's why on heating they eliminate out water molecules from them. Okay, students. So these molecules, unless they are solid, but they are containing water, that's why we call these type of molecule with water of crystallization as hydrated salts. And if water eliminates out on heating, that salts becomes anhydrous. Anhydrous meaning water is getting removed. Okay, students. So keep in mind, students, that salt appears dry, but they are not really dry. Which salts? Salts which have water of crystallization in them. Is it okay, students? And if suppose question comes, how can you prove that these salts are not dry really? Then you can take the activity of this blue colored copper sulfate, students. That as water eliminates out, the color of copper sulfate becomes white, and on the walls of the mouth of the test tube we observe droplets of water. Certainly they are coming out from this salt. Okay, students. So this is about hydrated salts, students. Salts having water of crystallization. Clear, students? Now the next important chemical compound I am taking is plaster of Paris. You have heard this name. पीओपी हम बोलते हैं आपके घर में पीओपी कराया है आपने. पीओपी कराया मतलब प्लास्टर ऑफ पेरिस वाला काम कराया है. कहाँ पर कराते हैं? फॉर मेकिंग द वॉल्स डेकोरेटिव, फॉर मेकिंग फॉल सीलिंग. ऑन द रूफ वी make some designs out of this POP or plaster of Paris. Decorative patterns are obtained by using this plaster of Paris. Different statues are made by using this plaster of Paris. But actually, what is it? Plaster of Paris, which we are abbreviating as POP, plaster of Paris. Chemical formula is CaSO4 half H2O. Again, this is having water of crystallization, but it is very strange to write half H2O. This half H2O is just showing that if one molecule of CaSO4 is taken, then half is the molecule of water. Half ratio is there. If suppose you are making the CaSO4 twice, if 2 CaSO4 is there, molecule of water will be 1 in that case. Okay, half. If it is 4, it will become 2, like that. So here, originally what we are taking, CaSO4 half H2O. I am insisting you to do this formula only because if the chemical formula is asked, formula is calcium sulfate hemihydrate. Hemisphere, you know, students? Hemisphere is half sphere. So hemihydrate meaning half H2O molecule is there. Okay. So the chemical name of this plaster of Paris is calcium sulfate hemihydrate. Hemi, half molecule of water is there. Hemihydrate. Okay, students, this water of crystallization. So again, one more molecule we have taken which contain water of crystallization. How this plaster of Paris is prepared? It is prepared by using gypsum. Gypsum we used previously also, students. CaSO4.2H2O. Two molecules of water are present as water of crystallization. How this gypsum gives out plaster of Paris? Gypsum CaSO4.2H2O when heated at this particular temperature, students, we have to mention this temperature, that is 373 Kelvin. It is 373 Kelvin. On heated at 373 Kelvin, this gypsum gives out CaSO4 half H2O and 1.5 H2O eliminate out. Okay, students, from this 2, half is here with CaSO4 and 1.5 is eliminating out. So CaSO4.half H2O is called what? POP, plaster of Paris. Remember, students, if this plaster of Paris is heated again strongly, this half H2O will also eliminate out and give CaSO4, which is called dead burnt plaster. Dead burnt plaster. It will not show the properties of plaster of Paris. Okay, students. Here also we can say that if gypsum is heated above 373, 373 पे heat कर रहे हैं तो POP मिल रहा है. Above 373 or strong heating when done, we will get what? Dead burnt plaster. So this is about preparation of POP, that is plaster of Paris. Now students, here I am telling you this plaster of Paris. Why it is called plaster of Paris? One thing can come in your mind. This plaster of Paris is prepared by gypsum, and gypsum is found in Paris. And that's why this name is there, plaster of Paris. And why plaster word is there? Actually, this plaster of Paris have tendency, calcium sulfate hemihydrate have tendency to set as a hard mass whenever water is added to this plaster of Paris and it is left for half an hour, it starts setting and forms hard mass. So this unique tendency, due to this unique tendency, this POP is used for many purposes. The main purpose is in the medical science for setting fractured bone. कभी भी आपने देखा होगा किसी को फ्रैक्चर होता है तो एक वाइट कलर का एक बैंडेज बन जाता है उसको. तो वो क्या होता है एक्चुअली? इट इज प्लास्टर ऑफ पेरिस. Liquid plaster of Paris is spread over the cotton strips, and that cotton strips get toughened and forms surgical bandage, and the fractured bones get set by using that plaster of Paris. Okay students, so for setting fractured bone, for making surgical bandages, this plaster of Paris is used. It is wrapped over the fractured bone by setting that fractured bone on their position, and as we apply this plaster of Paris thick coating, the bones cannot able to move, and there only they get developed and forms a fresh, or they get joined. Okay students, next is in making statues or the decorative patterns, false ceilings. As I was telling you, on the roof many designings can be done by using this POP, plaster of Paris. Making chalks, in the school we used to write with chalks. That chalks can also be made by this plaster of Paris. In making the surface smooth also, like if the wall is having some roughness over it, this plaster of Paris can be applied to make the surface smooth, to fill the holes. If wall is having, that holes also get filled and the surface becomes smooth. So students, this was the last important compound. So we have completed chapter 2 also students, and I think that you all are doing it nicely. Only some students are responding and sending their work regularly, but many of you are not sending me the work, and that's why I'm not sure that whether whole students are doing it or not. You are getting much time students. Do all the things very nicely. Study each of the subject nicely students. This time you have to face board, and very less time will be there in the school, I think, because of these conditions going on. But exams will be there. You have to give exams students. So be prepared and utilize your time for proper study. As I have completed now 2 chapters, I will give you assignment questions as summer holiday homework. Do it nicely in your assignment copy. Don't do this holiday homework in classwork copy students. You have to write in separate copy that holiday homework, and that copy we will use in future for writing the assignments. Okay, students? And if you have many times, I am repeating this statement that if you have any type of problem in chapter 1 or in chapter 2, without hesitation, you can ask me by calling me or just by asking questions on WhatsApp. I will give you the answer. Okay, students, take proper care of yourself and your family. You will find holiday homework tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Thank you, students. Goodbye.